ladies, I'm Jennifer Rothschild. Welcome to this month's womensministry.net video devotional. I brought you into our office today because what I want to talk about was something that occurred in this office recently. You see, my husband Phil and I decided we needed to reconfigure our office space. And so we moved shelves and we moved desks and we arranged things. And finally, when we had gotten it just like we thought it should be, I asked Phil, would you please rehang the pictures? And he said to me, in the old holes. Well, I laughed and I held up the pictures in the places I wanted them to now hang, given the fact that we had rearranged, and he giggled and got out the hammer. Well, of course, Phil knew that I wanted the pictures hung and I needed new holes. He was just tired of the extreme office makeover. Well, here's the deal. In life and in ministry, we all need times where we need to rearrange. And summer is a great time for women's ministry to think through what you're doing and why you're doing it. And perhaps it's a chance for you to rethink, review, maybe reconfigure. But beware, anytime you rearrange, it will expose some old holes. Old holes don't have to be filled, and old holes don't have to have the same frames hanging upon them. Beware that when you make new plans, old holes become obvious. I want to tell you about 3 old holes that could really compromise new plans. Here's your first old hole. We've always done this. Times change. People change, and ministries need to be willing to change. See, you can still do many of the things you've always done, but perhaps you have to rethink and consider perhaps if you should be doing it in the same way. With changing culture, with women's changing needs, we need to be sensitive as ministries to do things with a current mindset and to be fresh. Just because you've always done something doesn't mean you need to continue to do it in the same way. We've always done this can be an old hole. God said in Isaiah chapter 43, behold, I am doing a new thing. Can you perceive it? Okay, here's your second old hole that you need to beware of. We've always had this. Just because you've had certain events and certain programs over the years doesn't mean you need to automatically still have them. Everything about those events or programs that you do needs to be rethought, re-examined, reviewed, and you need to hold that up against what your needs are in your ministry and what it is you're trying to accomplish. Just because you've always had it doesn't mean you need to continue to have it. What we've always had can be an old hole, but here's the thing, you can take what is fresh and what is good and what is life-giving from the events and programs you've always had and bring them forward into a fresher, newer version. It's Jesus that taught us that we are to put new wine into fresh, new wineskins. Old hole number 3. We've always thought this. We need the wisdom that comes from experience, but we cannot afford stale thinking that's a result of a lack of consideration. Your ministry thrives on vision and philosophy, and it's okay if you've had the same philosophy of ministry for years, but guard yourself against the old hole tendency to just assume, well, if it ain't broke, we don't need to fix it. Perhaps it's not broken, but perhaps your thinking could benefit from a little tweaking. You see, Jesus taught us in the book of Luke that if we were to take a new piece of fabric and put it on an old piece of fabric, that it wouldn't fit and it would tear the new fabric. It's like that with our thinking. We can't afford to patch new pieces of thinking onto old fabric because it will compromise the very nature of what we're trying to do in ministry. Beware of old holes. You can't hang new ideas on old holes. I am not suggesting that your ministry or your life needs an extreme makeover, but What I am asking you is just to consider. Perhaps you might need a little rearranging, a little reviewing, a little rethinking, but be mindful that if you do tend to rearrange, it'll expose some old holes. Just because they're gaping doesn't mean they need to be filled by the same old thoughts, the same old programs, the same old ideas, and the same old processes. If you guys are together as a group, as a leadership team, listening to this and watching this today, maybe it's something you should talk about. Just review the old holes that might exist in your ministry, or perhaps review maybe if you could use some rearranging. And you know what, my friend, if you're not with a group of women, with the leadership team, this really applies to our lives, doesn't it? I know when I rearrange my thinking and my world, it exposes some old holes, and they're awfully tempting to fill with the same old habits. Maybe that's something you and the Lord could think about today. I'm so glad you've been with me. I hope this is ministering to you. And if you want to go deeper and get some more information and connect with women through the womensministry.net community, I invite you to become a part of what we're doing there, actually, of what God is doing there.